You don't have to.
You're my sibling.
All right. So looking at number 9 up there for warm up, what do we have to do first? Subtract the 7, right? So I'm gonna just move it over here so we got room. So I got 2 times the 5th root of x equals 8, right? Now what do? Divide by 2, right? Get the 2 over. We got to get the radical part isolated, right? So we got that part done, right? So when you're isolating the radical, get rid of addition or subtraction first, and then multiplication division, just like you always do when you're solving for x, okay? Now, how to get rid of that 5th root? Take it to the 5th power, right? So the 5th root of x to the 5th is x, right? And then that's a big number. What is 4 to the 5th? Thanks. Okay? Any questions? Jordan? Well, I would have if it was out when I went there. I can't believe you did that. Usually you do that for me. It won't ever happen again. All right, what about number 15? Do I need to isolate the radical? No. So I can go ahead right away and square both sides, right? Why am I squaring it? Yeah, the index is 2, right? We just never write. Square root, we square both sides. So I got 44 minus 2x equals x squared minus 20x plus 100, right? You guys get that? It's x minus 10 times x minus 10, right?
Yeah, I got that.
So you got to FOIL it. That's how you get the x squared minus 20x plus 100. Okay? So since it's a quadratic now, I got to set it equal to what? 0, right? So I got to subtract the 44 and add the 2x, right? So I got 0 x squared minus 18. And what's that, 56? Are there factors of 56 that add up to negative 18?
I messed it up. I didn't foil it. I just messed it up.
Right, but you understand now what you did wrong. Did I do something wrong, Nolan?
No.
Okay.
Isn't the factors of that?
Okay, what are they?
-4 and -14.
Yeah, that is correct. Oops, x minus 4 and x minus 14.
My Jesus.
Negative 4 times negative 14 is that positive 56, right? And then the negative 4 plus the negative 14 is the negative 18 for the middle. So my two answers are x equals positive 4 and x equals positive 14. Now we're supposed to check those, right? So what's 2 times 4? 8. What's 44 minus 8? 36, right? What's the square root of 36? 6. What's 4 minus 10? Negative 6. Does positive 6 equal negative 6? No. So is 4 a good answer? No. 42 times 14 is 28. What's 44 minus 28? Is that 16? What's the square root of 16? 4. What's 14 minus 10? 4. So that's a good answer. So 14, even though we did everything right, 4 actually doesn't work when we substitute it back in to the original problem. Okay, so we got to check that to make sure. Good job. So, answers to our homework. Here's 2 through 10. Number 2 was 18. Number 4 was 27. Number 6 was 2/9, which I think is 0.2 repeating. Number 8 is negative 1,000 over 3. What is that? 333.3 repeating? Number 10 has no real solutions. Any of those you want to look at?
10.
You want to look at 10?
I got -2.
Okay. So let's see. All right, so I'm just going to move it up here so we can see it. What's the first step? Add the 13, so we get -2, right? So will I be able to take the 4th root of something and get a negative? No. Remember, even roots should not be negative. Well, they could be plus or minus, right? So let's see what happens. If I raise that to the 4th power, what's that? 16? But I think maybe we can't do that. The 4th root of something can't be a negative. It's got to be a positive, right? Yeah. So that's probably what we did, and we get a 4x, right? You guys get 4? All right, but when you raise, when you put 4 in there, all right, you get 16, right? What's the 4th root of 16?
2.
It could be plus or minus 2, couldn't it? Yeah. Right? That when we do the 4th root of a positive number, it's got 2 answers. Jordan?
When I put in -2 to the 4th power in my calculator, I got -2.
Yeah, well, it means though, -2 to the 4th means this. When you don't put it in parentheses, the calculator's thinking this. So that's why it says that. Okay? But actually, this is what it means, right? So it should be positive 16. So I don't know why. I mean, if we put 4 in there, it works, right? Plus or minus. So I'm thinking they're saying the even root of a number can't be negative. But when we do that, we usually do plus or minus. But I'm thinking that's okay. You know? It should have been maybe plus or minus 2, not just -2. I guess the 4th root of 16. Yeah, I should look into that a little more, make sure I'm telling you guys that right. But I'm thinking that's okay, because when we take the square root of something, we can say plus or minus, right? 4th root should work as well. All right, how about 12? That one we're just going to put 250 over here on the left and for h and then solve it. The answer is 21.7 years. 14 is 25. 16 is 3. 18 is 1/2. And 20 is 15 halves, which is 7.5. For 20, all you got to do is square both sides, and you just get 3x minus 3 equals x plus 12, and just go from there. Okay. Anything else you want to go over? Okay, so remember yesterday, we were doing also inequalities. All right, we're going to do the inequalities today. What's an inequality? Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, greater than or just less than, right? So that's what we're gonna focus on today is the inequality part, okay? Also, we're gonna look at, same type of problems, but instead of radical form, they're gonna put it in rational exponent form. Remember last week, we had something like, the fourth root of x cubed. What was that with a exponent? What's that exponent? 3/4, right? Remember that from last week? Okay, so we're gonna have some equations today that we're gonna have an x to a 3/4 that we have to solve, okay? Instead of it being in this form, in radical form, okay? So it says, when an equation contains a power with a rational exponent, this is a rational exponent, a fraction, you can solve the equation using a procedure similar to the one for solving radical equations. In this case, first isolate the power. All right, so we want to get the x to the power by itself, just like we did the radical part yesterday by itself. Then raise each side to the reciprocal of the rational exponent. So if it was x to the 3/4, we're going to raise it to the reciprocal of 3/4, or what power? 4/3 power. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. All right. So what do I got to do with that 2? The plus 2. Yes, there's 2. Subtract it, right? Just like yesterday. We want to get this part in parentheses isolated. Okay. So just like what I just wrote over there. What's the reciprocal of 3/4? 4/3. So when you put this in your calculator, you're going to put it in like this. Okay. So what happens to the 3/4 and the 4/3? Just like the radicals yesterday. They cancel. So that just leaves me the 2x on the left. And then in my calculator, I'm going to plug in 8 caret parentheses 4 divided by 3. All right, so 8 caret right up there above the division symbol, parentheses 4 divided by 3. So we get 16. And then to finish up, what do?
Divide by 2.
Just divide by 2. All right. Questions? That's pretty simple, isn't it?
Easy. Easy.
All right. So do I have to get anything moved over for this one? No. So what am I doing to both sides? 2/1, right? Or just 2? So what happens to the 1/2 and the 2? They cancel. So what's the left? X plus 30. What's the right? X squared. So how am I going to solve this? No. Yeah, subtract the x and the 30 over. Keep the x squared positive. All right, set it equal to 0. So it became a quadratic equation. Are there factors of negative 30 that add up to negative 1? Five and 6, good. Negative 6, positive 5. When I multiply those two, I get negative 30. When I add those two, I get the negative 1. It's in the middle there. Right? So what are my two answers? Right, positive 6, negative 5. We should check. Let's see what happens. What's 6 plus 30? 36. 1/2 power is like square root, right? So what's the square root of 36? 6. Does that equal 6? When I plug in 6. Yes, so that's a good answer. What's negative 5 plus 30? 25. What's the square root of 25? 5. Does it equal negative 5? No. So that's not a good answer. we should check, just like we did last night. Remember, 1/2 power is like square root. 1/3 power is like cube root, okay? If you have to put it in your calculator to figure it out, that's okay too, when you're checking. All right, those seem okay? So you get everything but whatever's raised to the exponent power, whatever's raised to that fractional or rational exponent, and then take both sides to the reciprocal of that exponent, okay? All right, so to solve a simple radical inequality, and d is a non-negative number, raise each side of the exponent to n, all right, whatever the whatever the root is, just like we did yesterday. It also works for, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or less than they should have had in there. Be sure to consider the possible values of the radicand, okay? When it's a square root, what type of number has to be under the radical sign to work? Positive or is 0 okay to be in there? Can we take the square root of 0? Yeah, what's that answer? 0. So whatever's under the radical sign, okay, you have to do this little equation or inequality. But I forgot to put the -1 part. So whatever's the radicand, in this case the x minus 1, when it's an even root, if it's an odd root, you don't have to worry about that. Because you can take the cube root of a negative or the fifth root of a negative, right? But if it's even, it's got to be a positive, all right, or 0. So you have to write that as well and solve that equation. So just do that real quick. What do we have to do to solve that inequality? Just add 1, right? So this is part of our answer. X has got to be greater than or equal to 1. Okay? Now to finish the other side, I've got to get the radical part alone, so I have to move the 3. How do I move the 3? Divide. Now remember, when you're dividing and you have inequalities, sometimes you have to flip the inequality symbol. When do we have to flip the inequality symbol? When we multiply or divide by a negative number. So if that was a -3 out front, and I divided by -3, I have to change that to greater than or equal to, it would be -4 then, right? So just remember that about inequalities, right? If you multiply or divide both sides by negative, you're going to flip your inequality symbol. So just a reminder there. All right, now what do I do to both sides? Just like yesterday. Square, because this was square root, right? So my problem now is x minus 1 is less than or equal to 16. And then all I got to do is what again? Thanks, you guys.
Sorry.
You guys are all over it. All right, so my answer is this. 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 17. Okay? Any of those numbers work. If I get a number less than 1 or greater than 17, it won't work into that original problem. If I pick like a 20, well, let's make it nice. Let's say 26. What's 26 minus 1? 25. What's square root of 25? 5. What's 3 times 5? 15. Is that less than or equal to 12? No. Right? So any number that would be in between there, 1's okay, 17's okay, and anything between those works. If I pick a number outside of that, you won't get a true statement. Okay? So what do I got to do first for this one? Is this a even root? So x has got to be what? Greater than or equal to? What did we do for the one before? What did we do with the x minus 1? Greater than or equal to what? 0. Right? Whatever's under there, When it's an even, square root, fourth root, sixth root, okay, you gotta say greater than or equal to 0. Okay? Add the 3. Divide by the 2. And then what?
Square.
Square both sides. So x is greater than or equal to 9. Right? So if I put these two together, if I look at a number line, 0's down here and 9's here. Okay, if I were to graph that, what's that graph look like? X is greater than or equal to 0. What's this one look like? Where do I put it 0? Circle or dot? Dot. Because it's including it, right? Greater than to the right or to the left? To the right. All right. What about this one? What's that look like? Dot. Okay. And to the right. When it's a greater than problem, right? We call it an or type problem, greater. If it's less than, we call it an and. Right? Greater than, we just put the two together. So if I put those two together, it starts where and ends where. Not where they overlap, but where I just put them together. Just when it's greater than stuff, you just put them together. If I put these two together, where do I start? 0. And go on for ever, right? So anything from 0 up works. Okay? So this would be my answer. Right? If it was a less than problem, it's what they have in common, what works for both. That's where they'd overlap. So let's say this was my picture, same picture, but it was an and problem, less than or equal to, all right? Then where they start overlapping is at the 9, right? So it would be the blue picture would be the answer. Or the x is greater than or equal to 9. Thanks. Go schedule. Yeah, right now. All right. So just pay attention to that stuff sometimes. The greater ones, you see where they overlap. I'm sorry, I just said it wrong. The and ones is what they have in common. And then or ones you just join together. All right, the greater than ones. Or is greater or equal, or just greater, and is less than or equal to. All right? All right, what we got to do here? Do I have to worry about being greater than or equal to 0 underneath? No. Why? Because what type of index? Odd. Remember? Even indexes, we got to do the greater than or equal to 0. So the square root ones, greater than or equal to 0. The cube root ones, we don't have to worry about that step. So all I have to do is divide by 4, both sides. And I get the cube root of x plus 1 is less than 2. How do I get rid of the cube root? Cube both sides, right? Just like yesterday. And I get x plus 1 is less than or equal to 8. Subtract 1. X is less than or equal to 7. Simple.
Why the equals?
I don't know. I just added that. Shouldn't have been that. Got in a hurry. Sorry about that. All right. This is pretty easy too, right? Last 2 days were pretty easy.
Yeah.
All right.
Homework.
Homework. There you go. Not that many either.